A Prince has joined the Ragin Cajuns and he is coming back home. We've got the details and we'll hear from him right here on Ragin Rundown. What's good, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into another episode here on Ragin Rundown. I'm your guy, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick, but you can always call me Fitz. If this is your first time on the channel, please do me a favor and hit the bell down below and subscribe so you know when we're dropping episodes. If this is your first time listening, please go ahead and follow the podcast feed wherever you get great podcasts so you know when we're dropping episodes. And in today's episode, we are talking about a Prince or Princeton. There is Princeton Malbrue, the former Lafayette Christian star and LSU transfer linebacker that has signed with the Ragin Cajuns. Throughout the day, as I'm recording this episode here on Thursday, I did get an opportunity to speak with him during my day job at KETC, where I did a feature story on him, and you can go and check that story out on YouTube. And also KTC.com, the full interview and all those things like that. And I'll try to link that down in the description of this video as well. But I got a chance to spend some time with him for about 20 or 30 minutes. And, we had some dialogue leading up to his commitment and through his recruiting process as well. And if you don't know much about him, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown. He is, like I said, a former Lafayette Christian star. He began his high school career at Westminster Christian the first 2 seasons that he was there in high school, and then he transferred to LCA. He helped them to win 2 state championships, a part of the 4-peat that they had from 2017 to 2020. So he helped win the last 2 in that 4-peat. He was a part of a group of guys like Sage Ryan and Fitzgerald West and so many other talented athletes that came out of that program. And in the midst of that, he was an elite edge rusher, a part of that defense. He amassed 23 sacks in his 2 years at LCA, 15 in his junior year, and then 8 in his senior year. So he wreaked havoc. He was a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, and from there he would sign to Northwestern State. And that first season was the COVID season, which, as we all know, it doesn't count towards eligibility. And then later he would, after spending 2 seasons at NSU, he transferred to LSU. And in 2024, he suffered an ACL tear and meniscus tear as well on the first game of the season against USC. He would be out for the year, so he got the medical red shirt. So he has 2 years of eligibility remaining. And, coming into this one, Louisiana had lost an edge player in Cameron Whitfield to graduation, and then also Drennan Fight to the transfer portal, who's now at UTSA. And so one of those main pieces that they had been trying to add to was that edge rusher position, an area where Princeton in college played more of the inside linebacker position, the one that stands up in the middle, is more making the calls, very similar to Terrence Williams and Jaden Duggar last season. So that is the position that he was kind of filled in. But in Louisiana's defense, their player is a jack defender, where they can put their hand in the ground, but they can also drop into coverage in different instances. And so, like I mentioned, we had some dialogue in between. But what I did not realize is that he is a legacy player. He is a legacy commit, because his father and his mother are both graduates of the university. His brother played for the Ragin Cajuns from 2014 to 2018. And for him, as I talked with him more and more throughout the conversation, it became very clear that this was much bigger than football for him, that it was more about community. And we've talked about in previous episodes that you can go and check out, that those are the type of players that head coach Coach Desormeaux is focused on bringing into his program, whether that be for transfers, whether that be from the high school ranks. He's not focusing on making a roster that is the best roster that money can buy. He's focused on getting guys that want to play football, that want to compete, and that want to win championships and create something special. And what better person to do that than a local kid, someone you have great relationships with, someone you recruited out of high school, you're already familiar with. He knows who you are. He grew up watching this program and all of those things like that. And, I asked him about his time watching his brother back when he was a kid and what that meant to him. And, he just spoke so fondly of all the memories of seeing him play in the vermilion and white.
Just the culture, man, the culture, the fight song, just everything. Just him coming out the tunnel and just him putting on that red and vermilion and white and just taking a step out and just balling. Just me experiencing that and seeing him through his career here is something special. And it's such a surreal moment for me to come back and to experience that as well. So it was a good moment for the family.
So Shazier Malbrue was a former Ragin Cajun himself and an inside linebacker. And so coming home and being in a place that was very familiar for Princeton was very huge. And like I mentioned, he talked about, having the opportunity to be able to compete for playing time and work his way into a role where he could be on the field, which is something that throughout his collegiate career he hasn't had a numerous amount of opportunities to do. He's played in 39 career games, but in terms of, consistent reps throughout his career, he hasn't had the opportunity to necessarily do that. So again, what better way to do it than for your hometown team? In his career, he's played in 39 games. He started in three of them, all three of them coming at Northwestern State. He's had 31 total tackles, 2.5 for loss, and a sack and a PBU as well. So you're talking about a kid that comes from a winning program in high school and has competed and practiced with very, very talented players like Jaden Daniels, and I think that being around some of that winning essence, which again is what we've talked about in previous episodes before, having that winning feeling around you, being around some high caliber athletes and competing against high caliber athletes on a day-to-day basis is what these Raging Cajuns will continue to need in order to continue to build and create something that's going to last. Throughout Princeton's recruiting process, especially once I got word that he was visiting the program. I remember once I got word of it, anytime that I get information, I share it with you guys. What I'm available or able to share, I share it with you guys because that's what you're coming here for, is for information, to get the inside scoop. And so when I tweeted out that, Princeton Malbrue and then Tyler Brumfield, who by the way committed to Eastern Michigan, when I announced on Twitter and my socials that he would be visiting, Tyrone Lewis, a former Raging Cajun himself, former Cajun safety, quote tweeted it and was like, "Okay, let me see if I can work my magic and close the deal on it." And so from there, he posted another screenshot, and it showed that Princeton had followed him, and he was like, "Let's work my magic, guys." And so he quoted it again and said, "We'll see what comes of it tomorrow." So, putting on my journalistic hat as always, I DM T and I asked him, "Yo, is he going? You helped him to commit? Did you flip him?" And he said, "Yeah, I did." So now I'm like, okay, so now I'm anticipating that it could be real, but I knew that Princeton, had several visits with other schools, like North Texas and UNLV and all of those things like that. And so during the interview, I asked him about that sequence with Tyrone Lewis. And then he also brought up another name, a current Raging Cajun, the starting quarterback for Lunch Winfield, and how influential he was into making his decision to come and be a part of the Raging Cajuns.
It was a great conversation with him. Also, Lunch Winfield, also, he had a big impact in my decision coming here. They just talk the world about here and what Coach Dez is doing with this program, and as far as Coach Giuliani, how good of a coach he is, and just putting me in the best position to succeed. Obviously, the goal is to play on Sundays one day, and them taking a step by step and explaining to me that this area and this coaching staff would put me in the best position possible to succeed, to get to that point.
So big ups to a former player and also to your starting quarterback, right? Like, what better recruiting tool could you possibly have than the guy that is the leader of your program? There's no, like, that is the person that I've said it before, when he is the outspoken leader, the hardest worker, the best player, all of those things like that. When your quarterback can be that guy, it helps other players rally around him. It was multiple guys that, as I was putting out, like, hey, this guy's been offered, he was quote tweeting their, offer that they were tweeting about and saying, like, come be a Cajun. Like, what better way to recruit? Like, coaches can recruit as much as they want to, but what better way than to have a player that's on your roster and say, hey man, these guys care about you, they're going to love on you, they're going to treat you like family, and then they're going to develop you and get you ready for ultimately what you want to do, which is to win a championship and then have a shot at playing at the next level, which is something that the program has done numerous times. I mean, you look at Nate Thomas right now in the NFL and has started multiple games for the Dallas Cowboys. You know, Percy Butler is still in the NFL right now with the Washington Commanders. Andre Jones, Osiris Torrance. The list goes on and on of players that are still competing in the NFL after coming through the Ragin Cajuns program. And like I said, Lunch, good on him for being able to do that, man. Great kid and an even better recruiter. And then good on Tyrone, too, to still caring about a school that, he transferred into coming out from Kansas State, if I remember correctly, and coming to UL. So that just shows how much this place means to these guys and how important that it is to them. I talked to Princeton also about like his recruiting visit and everything that went along with it. He talked about how Coach Des, mentioned to him about not just playing at the inside linebacker position, but also kind of that edge position. And he mentioned talking about similar to like the way that LSU used Harold Perkins early in his career, being able to rush the passer, dropping into coverage, spying, being kind of that versatile athlete that you can move and kind of almost be like a major chess piece, on the board where he can line up over here on one play and then the next play he can be standing up 3-4 yards off of the ball. And I think having an athletic player like that, like Princeton, that's something very, very big. And he was excited talking about that, getting the chance to do that. And when I was leaving from the facility after talking with him, I saw a staff member and I asked him how excited he was to have Princeton on the team. And he said that this is a kid that fits like a glove. His family knows the place already. His brother knows the program. He joked about, during the OV official visit dinner, Prince's nephew and came in and was singing the fight song word for word. A little kid that's been around the program enough that knows about the Ragin' Cajuns and all of those things like that, man. Like that's what makes a story like that for me, putting it together, so special. Um, Kind of the last thing that I'll share with you. And like I mentioned, you can listen to or watch that whole interview that I did with Princeton on ketc.com, that we have there on our homepage. You can go and check that out. The last thing that I talked to him about that I'll share with you guys is kind of the mentality of the rest of this transfer portal class, right? This class was extremely small. 3 players: Broderick Stewart, Princeton Malbrue, and Jace Mitchell, an offensive tackle, a D tackle, and then an edge or linebacker player. And all 3 of these guys, from what I've talked to them about and spoken with them about, is that this is strictly about football. This is not about the NIL space, the revenue sharing. I asked Princeton about that too. Um, this was not about coming in and trying to make money. This was about coming in, joining a program where they feel like they could be developed, can go out and play, build something special, and win a championship. And I asked him, had he interacted with those guys just yet? And he talked about how he's met with them during the team meetings and things, and they are actually starting off-season workouts here on Thursday. I said I was recording the episode on Wednesday earlier, I think. All my days are running together. Either way, he said that he had met with those guys, and they seem to pretty much be on the same accord about how they feel that they want to change this program and why they came and joined the Ragin' Cajuns.
Just our investment, man. Just our investment with this place and our ability to come back and come to UL and leave everything on the line, give great effort. We got a lot of intelligent and smart guys in this room, a lot of veterans returning, and building something special with accountabilities and just having the right traits. And that's what Coach Desormeaux preached, having the right, not only the right players, but the right people in this room. And Accountability is second to none, and just having those guys that are accountable and willing to do their job at a high level each and every day is something that's special.
So there you have it. Like I said, Princeton Malbrue, a very humble young kid, very well spoken, and a great conversation that I had with him, about a 20 or 30-minute conversation that you can go and check out over on ketc.com. That I'll link that down in the description. I'm going to take a quick timeout, and when I come back, we're going to talk about UL men's basketball. We're not talking about a specific game, but it's a thing that I think needs to be brought to the attention of some Cajuns fans that may be getting a little bit impatient about some of the results that have been going on with the program. We'll talk about it when we come back here on Ragin Rundown. Louisiana men's basketball fell to 4-15 after suffering a loss on Wednesday afternoon to Texas State. They were the underdogs coming into the game. I believe sports betting lines had them as a 10-point underdog, and they did fall in that ball game. And it was actually a pretty close one, 59-54, dropping them to 2-5 in conference play and 4-15 overall on the season. And throughout the many losses that the Cajuns have gone through this season, including, a long losing streak that began with a Tulane loss, and you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 straight losses. You're losing 11 of your first 12 games. During that streak, you kind of overlook some of the Twitter trolls and social media trolls of fire this guy, is he the right guy, all of these things like that. And while I understand the frustration, I would like to bring about the word that Aaron Rodgers brought up years ago, which is to relax. Quantas White is in his first season as head coach. And I know right now we are in a microwave era. That is not just in college sports, that is across the country. Everybody wants something so fast. They want it done so fast. They look at Kirk Cignetti with Indiana in college football, and they're in their second season and now playing for the national championship coming up against Miami. And I know everyone says that's supposed to be us. The expectation is to flip it around and get it done. I understand that. But you have to understand that things take time. And I know you may be sitting there and you're rolling your eyes and you're saying, well, Jamarcus, Georgia Southern is 5-1, and Troy is 5-1 in conference play. And Arkansas State has a first-year head coach that's 4-2 in conference play and 12-6 overall. Let me point to you why that is. Okay, let's start with Troy. You're defending conference champions as of now, and has been playing at a extremely high level. I think they blew out Southern Miss the other night to eventually jump into first place in the conference standings or be tied for first with Georgia Southern. Okay, their head coach is Scott Cross, who's been with the program since 2019. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons that he's been there in the program. In his first season, his overall record was 9-22, 5-15 in conference play, and tied for 11th. It was his first season. He didn't get a 20-win season until year 3, when they went 20-12 and they made the CBI first round. And then they did not win the conference and the conference tournament until last year, where they went 23-11, 13-5 in conference play. They were tied for first, and they go to the NCAA tournament. So it took him 6 years to get this program to where they are now, to where they are a perennial powerhouse in the Sun Belt right now, an electric offense, top 50 in the country. And I know as a Cajun fan, you feel like, why can't that be us? And you may even look over at Arkansas State and you may say, Ryan Pannone is a first-year head coach, and he has his team in position right now to be in striking distance of potentially winning the conference in his first year. So why can't that be us, Jamarcus? I'll tell you why. Looking at some of the players on the roster in comparison to what you have, well, I'll come back to Arkansas State. Let me go back to Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern, who's currently in first. Chris Henry is in his third season, right? Or Charlie Henry, excuse me. Charlie Henry is in his third season. And in his first year as a head coach at Georgia Southern, he went 9-24. And they were tied for seventh in the conference. And now they find themselves sitting atop the Sun Belt standings at 5-1. If I'm not mistaken. I'm going to refresh this tab just to make sure. Yes, 5-1, 13-6. Again, things take time. Now going back to Arkansas State, first year head coach, very similar to what you have, coming from a big Power Four program in Alabama, coaching under Nate Oates. Ryan Pannone comes in, and he has his team again in striking distance to potentially compete for first place in the Sun Belt Conference. Here's where things are different. On the Red Wolves roster are the likes of Chandler Jackson, Matt Heyman, Jackson Ellensworth, and then I cannot pronounce this young man's last name. I should have checked on that. Joey Shalma. I'm going to say that. Okay. We're going to roll with that. I don't cover these guys on a day-to-day basis. My point being, Chandler Jackson has played in 106 career games up until this point. Matt Heyman has played in 113 career games up until this point. Mr. Joey has 44 games. Jackson Ellensworth has played in 50 games. What's your point, Jamarcus? Your leading scorer right now is Dorian Finister, who's played in 67 games. Jackson Olvera, your next highest scorer, has played in 54 games. You kind of seeing the trend that I'm talking about? Devion Laverne, your starting point guard, has played in 19 career games at the Division I level, coming from a JUCO. And then your highest ranked player in Josh Lewis, and I put the air quotes around it because I know a lot of people say stars don't matter, but your highest ranked player in Josh Lewis is a true freshman. So essentially, you are counting on an extremely young bunch of guys to be able to compete against other teams that are well-seasoned with well-seasoned coaches that have a ton of experience, that have a lot of playing experience as well. It's not an easy feat. So what's the answer? Well, I hear you point, Jamarcus. How do you do it? You have to wait. You have to give it time. And what I believe is that Quantus White will continue to get in his guys, right? And not to mention, you're missing Jamiron Keller, who was your leading scorer up until he got hurt in the first two games that he played. He's played in 62 career games. And then Sean Elkington did not touch the floor at all. And he was a senior coming in. So you're missing experience. The three returning guys that you had when you had Bob Marlin were Zeke Cook, who left the team, Jeremiah Evans, who gets sparing minutes, and Kyron Ratliff, who gets sparing minutes. So right now, you kind of have a team that you put together and you're trying to find a way to get these guys to gel. And as the season has progressed on, they are getting more and more comfortable with each other. These guys don't have a lot of playing experience on top of they don't have a lot of experience playing with each other. So how can you expect when previous coaches that are in the same conference as you, that have head coaches that have either been there for a long period of time and didn't have success early on, how do you expect to have it flipped around as quickly as possible? A lot of people asked that Bob Marlin would be fired. They begged for him to get fired. I used to see all the time they would say after losses, fry the fish, the big fish, fry the fish, all those things like that. You got him fired. You can't keep getting coaches fired or asking for coaches to be let go and then expect it to just flip around and be all sunshines and rainbows right after. It's going to take time. It's going to take patience. It's going to take trust that Quantas White is going to be able to turn it around. Because I guarantee you, if it's anybody else that's around there that is wanting to get this thing turned around, it's those guys in that building, starting with the man up top. Because there is pressure on his shoulders. To the public, he comes from a winning program in Houston, sitting under Kelvin Sampson, who's one of the greatest basketball coaches at the collegiate level, and maybe even in basketball history altogether. And you come from under his tree, and you come in and you're not having success early. That's a lot of pressure. But from the conversations that I've had with him and the way that his staff has worked and the moments that I've seen these guys practice and how dedicated I believe they can be, I think that the Ragin Cajuns will be able to turn this around. It may not be in this year, and that's okay, because there were other coaches in the same conference that didn't have early success either. So to Cajun fans out there that are listening, I would say relax, be patient, and wait and see what's to come. That's going to wrap things up for this episode here of Ragin Rundown. Guys, if you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. If you could do me a favor, go ahead and leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel. I'd love to interact with you guys and then share it with someone else so they know all about this YouTube channel. If you are listening, follow the podcast feed, leave a review for us as well so you know whenever we will be dropping episodes. I'm your guy, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick. We'll see you guys next time.